Welcome once again to Let's Talk Marriage. This is Pastor Larry coming to you this Wednesday afternoon with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. We're going to get right on into our session on today. Our session on today is how to recover from a disagreement. I didn't write any notes or anything down. I'm just going to be going over some things real quick on how to recover from a disagreement. There's a lot of marriages out here, excuse me, where the spouses, the husband and wife, are not getting along. And at one time it was, at one time it was, people, it seemed to be always the people that didn't go to church, or it used to be like people that didn't go to church. But now it's even with the people that are in church, they don't seem to be getting along. And it's, where they're not communicating with each other, they're not talking with each other. They're just constantly, if you find yourself constantly, you and your spouse, you love each other, there's no doubt about that you love each other, but you're constantly arguing over things that don't make sense, and sometimes serious things, and sometimes things that are not really serious, but it seems like every time you try to talk, you end up in an argument. The kids are hearing it, and it's upsetting the children, and you get, tempers flare and voices are raised and things like that. Sometimes, you have to sit down and think what you should do, especially if you want to save your marriage. There's nothing wrong with it. And I've always said that on this program, we constantly support getting some kind of counseling. There's nothing wrong with going to marriage counseling. And if you feel like it's just you or something from your past, you would start out with counseling for yourself, so you can get past those things from your those past hurts. Because some people bring in a lot of past hurts from things from their past, and it tends to spill over into their marriage and cause all kind of issues, cause all kind of problems. If you had we mentioned this before on the program, if you had a husband that wasn't faithful, you'll go over into another marriage, and the husband that you have now is could be totally faithful, but that trust level is not there, and because you never got put a closure to your previous relationships. We have to put closures to our previous relationships. Just like when you became a born again believer, you had to put those things behind you. You're not going to. People say, "Oh, forget it." You're not going to forget those things, but you have to put them behind you in order to move forward. You can't move forward if you have an obstacle in front of you. So you have to take that obstacle and put it behind you and move forward. It's not that it's not going to be back there. Some things, some hurts you'll never get over, but you get through them. There's a difference. When you get through them, you can tell someone else how you got through it. It becomes a testimony for yourself. And a lot of couples are, especially with nowadays with all the internet and social media out there, you go through things where you just not getting along, and a lot of times we might not get along. If you're having a conversation with someone and they're saying things that you don't want to hear, if they're trying to be truthful, and we talked about this as well, as far as the truth is only effective when it's used at the right time. Timing is everything. if you have the truth and you want to use it at the wrong time or to get back at somebody, it might, what you're saying might be true, but it might not be the time to say that. And when we get in arguments, we might bring up something from the past that might be true or it might have actually happened, but we use it as a tool to put someone down or a tool to control someone. And that seems to happen a lot. People use the truth, and that's not what the truth for. The truth is to set you free or to make you free, not to burden you, not to make you feel guilty, not to make you feel like you're useless. That's not what the truth is for. And we tend to use the truth as a weapon. And when you use the truth as a weapon, it's no longer the truth. You're using something to hurt someone. And a lot of times in the marriages, we might bring up something from the past or something that happened years ago. Leave it in the past, and move forward. And some things you're not never going to forget, but if you forgive somebody for something that they've done in the past, leave it in the past. Don't bring it up as much as you want to bring it up. When you want to get the upper hand in an argument, you might bring up something from the past, and that's just not right. And I noticed as being a minister, I noticed that a lot of preachers, ministers, or people in spiritual positions, they tend to use the truth to burden people or to make them feel guilty or to put them down or to control them. And it's not right even in the spiritual realm. So and as far as the husband and wife realm, is definitely not acceptable. So we have to make sure that we are not using the truth to control someone or in a argument. And first of all, you have to learn how to communicate with each other. Communication is not hard and is not easy. Sometimes things that you want to talk about, you have to sit down and think about how you want to present them. Again, just because it's the truth does not mean it's the time or the place to say it at that time. So you have to figure out the right time. You have to figure out how to present the truth to someone, because you can use the truth and definitely hurt someone's feelings. So you don't want to be one of those people that I tell it like it is. Sometimes it's not. You don't have to tell nothing. And we real quick to say that, oh, I just told them the truth. No. And and if you tell someone the truth and it hurts them, you haven't gotten anywhere. You have to figure out a way to tell them that. And that's where you have your successful teachers. You have teachers that tell you or get up and tell you, oh, y'all ain't learning nothing. All this I'm doing and y'all ain't learning. You have teachers like that. And then you have the teachers that'll sit down with you and figure out a way to present what he has for you or his teachings for you. Because you can, just because you know something does not mean that you know how to tell someone that you know it or how you know it. That's where you get your good teachers and your bad teachers. And that's why the whole time in school, when you always had one of those teachers that knew what they were talking about, but they did not know how to present it. And that's how the truth is. There's some people that know the truth, they speak the truth, but they have no clue on how to present the truth. And that's the difference between a good teacher and a bad teacher. And because I can tell you all the teachers that I've had in the past, especially when I was coming up in grade school, we had wonderful teachers. I remember one teacher in particular, a Miss Jackson, and this was in 7th grade, yeah, I believe, 7th grade, Miss Jackson, and she was one of those teachers that she knew the truth, but she knew how to present the truth to you, and as a result, she was one of the best teachers that I had. And I took that over into my marriage. I try to make sure that if I have the truth, I have to make sure that and now of course I'm still learning. We all are still learning. You have to learn how to present the truth to someone to avoid disagreements, because you can easily get in a disagreement. You might be telling the truth, and just because you're right don't mean you have to say that. Learn how to agree to disagree. Walk away, while you still, standing up. Because we tend to always want to be on the offensive. And if someone mentioned a scenario, don't feel like you always have to justify why you do what you do. If you do what you do and there's a legitimate reason or method, people will know that. They'll even tell someone, oh, he does that because he's like this, and it always works out. It'll always work out. So we have to make sure that we are presenting the truth, especially when we're in a disagreement. Sometimes it's not the time to just start bringing up stuff and stop. In marriages, we have a bad habit of holding things over the other one's head. Yeah, remember you did this and that, and we remember everything but the good things. Next time something bad happened, or next time you in a disagreement in your marriage, bring up something positive that happened. Remember how you used to do this or you used to do that, and put an emphasis on, oh, I love when you used to do that. How come we don't do that anymore? That's where you can build on a fruitful, or build on a wonderful conversation when you started out like that, instead of, you don't treat me like you used to, you know. And it's easy, real easy, to start bringing up stuff that happened in the past and stuff that, and sometimes some things are worth bringing up and some things are not worth bringing up. And again, just because it's the truth don't mean you always have to bring it up. So, and again, we were talking about earlier when we first started the program how there's a lot of married couples that, can't stand to be in a room with each other. And they don't sleep in the same room. And, come on, people. Make some sense. You're not sleeping in the same room. You need to reevaluate that. And if it continues, you need to seek some sort of counseling. By all means, get prayer. Have your pastor pray for you. But if he's not a certified marriage counselor or something, you might want to seek a marriage counselor. And just because you've been married a lot of times, or just because you've been married for many years, don't mean that you are an expert on being married. You're just an expert on different things. So we have to make sure that we are working together as married couples. And it seems like as married couples, it seems like the arguments or the disagreements always come up on Sunday morning. Well, they used to. I don't know how they do it now, because a lot of people go to church online. But on the way to church, you have a disagreement because one is running behind, and you want your wife to look her best, when you go out, especially when you go to church and stuff. And if she's taking a long time to get dressed, there's nothing wrong with it. Just let her, especially if she come down looking really radiant, just say, oh, you look radiant, or you look beautiful, instead of, why you got those lips? I got to be in there, and that starts a whole disagreement. And by the time you get to church, you've missed on the blessings or the message. You even missed the message. And you can't get into the service because you're mad at your spouse, and things like that should not be happening. Again, if you are going through a marriage where you guys are constantly arguing, constantly fighting, you're not getting along at all, you have to reevaluate your relationship. Let me say that again. If you're in a marriage where you guys are constantly arguing, you're not getting along, every time you turn around, if you try to have a simple conversation, it turns into an argument, you have to reevaluate your relationship. And make sure you, before you, I'm not telling you, by all means, I'm not telling people to resolve the relationship. What I'm telling you to reevaluate it, which means that get some help, because there could be some past hurts there, some things that there was never closure on certain things. You have to make sure that you bring those things to an end from your previous relationship. And a lot of times that's what comes out when you go to counseling. You find out why you can't get along, for whatever reason. And if you're not getting along because your husband leaves his clothes everywhere, that can easily be resolved. Or if you get into argument just because you burn up everything and he got the insult, that could easily be resolved. But the serious things sometimes you have to seek professional help. You have to seek counseling. And by all means, on this program, we always stress, and that's people of color, we don't want to say or admit that we need counseling. If you've had grief in your family, make sure you seek a grief counselor, because people handle grief differently than others. And don't, again, we've said this in this program, don't tell people how to grieve. People grieve in different ways. People grieve for different lengths of time. Some people might grieve all their life for a loved one. And some people might grieve a few months. Some people might grieve a day. But you can't tell people how to grieve. And another thing, you can't tell people to get over it. You'll never get over a loved one, especially if it's a child or a spouse that you lost. You never get over that. Even parents that you lose, especially if you were close with your parents, you never get over it. You get through it. So that's where the counseling comes in. It helps you to get through it. And you never get over it because you're not really supposed to get over it. Those memories has to stay there. That's what build your characters, those memories, those fond memories that you have with your loved ones that you lost. Those stay there, so you don't forget about it. You get through it and you move on. And within time, time heals all wounds. So within time, it'll be healed, and you can look back at those memories, and with fondness and appreciate the time that you had with your loved ones. And then again, make sure that we are working together as couples. We got the holiday season coming up. It's already here, and make sure that we're spending time with our both sides of the family. Some people are fortunate enough married couples are fortunate enough to have both sides in their family. The relatives on the wife's side and the relatives on the in-laws on the husband's side. So make sure that we're spending time with each one, give them equal time. Make sure that we're loving on our children. Make sure we are encouraging our children. Make sure we're encouraging each other. And again, if you find yourself always in argument with your spouse, you need to reevaluate something. Sit down and talk with them, talk it out. Communication is the key. Make sure that we are communicating with each other. There's some subjects that are not easy to bring up, but find a way to bring it up without being offensive. Again, the truth can be offensive, but it's the way that you present the truth. This is Pastor Larry. We're going to be signing out, and you have a blessed day. Until we meet again with Let's Talk Marriage. Now, remember, all the music that you hear on this program is from a wonderful app that's called Whoop Triggers Plus. It's an app that ministries can use if they don't have musicians, if they can't afford musicians. Check out that app. It's called Whoop Triggers Plus. This is Pastor Larry. We're going to be signing off until we meet again with Let's Talk Marriage.